Hello, Lottie Dottie and everybody. I am back again to continue this candid conversation about what I call the aftermath of divorce. And I like to just share my story that pray that it can be an encouragement to people, because I've seen it that many have superficial conversations in regards to the aftermath after divorce and the things that transpire in a person's life that often aren't talked about, and even in particular in the life of the church, that it goes far beyond just the divorce decree being signed. And I was just sitting and thinking about this topic. Just came to my mind about the bump and grind after divorce. And I was like, oh my gosh, that title may seem salacious, but it's a real conversation that we must have in spaces to help people. And that is just my goal of how do we help people navigate in real time without having just superficial conversations. Because I do understand that everybody's not going to go to therapy. And I have been in the counseling space over 25 years, and everybody just is not going to come. And so it is still my hope. And so the aftermath of divorce is a real thing, right? When you have been used to, in particular, a spouse laying in the bed with you at night, having sexual intercourse and intimacy, and then that is disrupted. There isn't always sometimes a automatic detachment of that, right? There isn't a automatic emotional disconnection from that person just because the relationship ended, right? And there are people who post-divorce who went through the process of disconnecting themselves sexually. Those are real life things. Everybody might not sit here and tell you that. And then there are those who just had absolutely no connection whatsoever of that. And everybody's situation is different, and everybody has their own personal story. And so then there are some times where people, you can go on this, what I call binge, and I'm going to talk about me. You go on this binge after divorce where I felt like, yeah, I'm free now. I'm doing me. I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna live my life on my terms. I'm gonna set the parameters, just what are going on for me. I'm going to be the lead in any scenario that I have with any guy. And I did that for a while. And the core of it, being very honest, and the base of it was putting a Band-Aid on an open, gaping wound. That's just the truth of it for me. Attempting to fill this emptiness that I felt by connecting with someone else emotionally and physically. And that it wasn't instantly. And then you hear different sides of it, even in the Christian space, just being honest of, what you should do in those times, right? Of when your loins are burning, when your hormones are budding, because those things don't change just because you get a divorce. Like, those things don't change at all. And it's not always just about the sexual connection, but it's the intimate connection with someone, being able to talk to someone, and all those kinds of things, right? And so I went on this period of meeting some amazingly handsome men, and I had to really come to terms and come to grip with, why are my actions like this? Why am I engaging in behaviors that are not true to me, to my core? I had to really sit deeply and honest with that. And the crux of it was I was lonely and I was hurt. I was so lonely and I was hurt. And this may not resonate with everybody, but I know some people it does. And you can easily go to the side of this avalanche of emotions that come with that. And I kept telling myself I was doing me. Oh, he's handsome. And then ego was in it. And then it was this thing of I had been with the same person for so long. It was like jumping double dutch, right? Getting back into the dance again and, feeling my royal oats like, oh, they still think I'm cute or I still must have it, right? So all of those things, it felt good in those moments. These are real life things that women endure after divorce. Now, some women totally shut down where they want to cut that side off of them. However, you're still going to have hormones. You're still going to have emotions. And hear me when I say this. I know the power of prayer. I know God can keep you, as they say, the old folks say, he will keep you if you want to be kept. However, I also understand biology, that you can pray and pray and pray, and hormones are what they are. And can God help you in any instance? Absolutely, you can. But after a person prays, what are your practical steps that need to happen to help guide you? And do I believe some of those things can come through prayer? Absolutely, yes. However, do I believe that talking to a physical person about some of those raw things that you're feeling without condemnation, is that necessary? Absolutely. I believe both are true. But I think sometimes we, in my opinion, just put put spiritual things on conversations that we should have, and we over spiritualize them, which I think is an issue that many people do. Opposed to addressing the root issues and bringing those up, we put a band-aid of spiritualization on it, but the whole big gaping hole is still there. Because most people in houses of faith aren't talking about sex. That's just the reality of it. They aren't talking about it. And so many people in churches divorce. They just do. But how are people coping in real time? How are they coping? Many had attempted to cope like I did. Wasn't eventually, but yeah, coping, thinking that, okay, this is going to, and did it fill those voids temporarily? Absolutely, in those moments. But then there was still an emptiness there for me. And I know I'm not alone in this. And then the guilt I felt, and then the remorse, and then the regret, and staying on this hamster wheel time after time and time again, when I had to finally make a decision to say, okay, this is not serving me. This is not what I desire. I need to do something different. I need to be honest with myself. I need to be honest with people who, without judgment, can listen to me. I had good girlfriends who helped me walk through the process when I was feeling lonely. And, I had to be mindful of what I was listening to at night. Certain slow songs, love talk and slow jams will put me in a certain kind of mood or certain kind of thought and certain kind of mind frame where during that season, I said, I can't listen to that because that's not helping me. And so I share to give people hope to say you must have honest conversations with yourself and find some other people in the earth that you can have a real honest conversation with about the aftermath after divorce. That sometimes you may go on a period of bumping and grinding, not because, there's just because you have that part of you where you feel like that need, it needs to be met. And so, this is just a message of hope to say that, yes, you will get lonely. You will have tender spots, not just because the divorce decree has been signed, that's the end of it, and it's not. All parts of ourselves have to be healed in body, mind, and spirit. Yet again, because we have our earthly vessels. God made hormones, emotions, and all those different kinds of things for a reason. And for us to act like that they don't exist, or that we shouldn't just talk about them, I don't ascribe to that. And I think religious spaces should have more conversations about intimacy and about sex, and in a healthy format, without it just being condemnation and saying everybody's going to hell, or just the conversation of just don't do it. What do I do in moments when I feel lonely, or what do I do when I'm horny, or what do I do in those moments? Like, being very honest, do sometimes you go to read a scripture? Yes, sometimes not. Is there some additional literature that you can read? And I'm not saying here that I think we just have to have a holistic approach to a life that we live on earth, because we are human beings. We're not all spiritual. And so it is my hope and my prayer that something that was said here that will get you to start thinking and really have an honest conversation, especially those who are in religious houses of faith sectors. Because so often we downplay certain real conversations about our humanity in everyday life, and especially during the conversation of divorce, because there's so much negativity attached to it that people don't have comfortable spaces to share. Some people already dealing with the shame and the guilt of the divorce, and then having to talk about something most intimate and personal. A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't do it. And I'm obeying my spirit to come and to share my story. Honestly, that I feel like in that area, I didn't take all the best steps. It was a couple of years of, as they say, I was outside. I mean, that's just what it was. And missing church some Sundays, texting in church saying, hey, meet me after church. Those are just realities. And I know I'm not the only one. And we have to be honest about that, where we are. Is that a conversation that you share with everybody? Absolutely not. But it didn't sit well with me. And yet again, the cycle that I was on of the guilt and the shame, because I was like, I know better. Why am I succumbing to this? I know the scriptures. I know what the word says. I can do better than this. And I really, really made a decision to do something different. And that's and I had gotten to the point and said, Lord, if this is a space and this is a season where I have to be in, alone, not connecting with anyone physically, then that's just what it is. And I had to navigate those rough terrains. But there is definitely hope after divorce, that you can live a satisfied life after divorce, that you can find light company without judgment and without ridicule, where you can really be honest about your humanity and to get some really tangible, practical steps of how do I walk this out in real time. I think we just need that. I think teens need to have some of those same conversations beyond the church, just saying don't have sex. And I actually have a curriculum on my website on sex education from a Christian viewpoint, because we have to have conversations about it. We talk about everything else but that. So let's have real honest conversations, people, and get the help that you need.